Hi there, in this video I'm going to talk you through fitting a temperature sensor to the MyEnergi Eddi. So I've got the two pieces I need. Basically I've got the temperature sensor here in the MyEnergi box, which I actually went to Midsummer Wholesale in Cambridge and actually picked it up myself, so I didn't have to pay a really expensive delivery charge. And then I've actually got the cable for the temperature sensor here. Now this was purchased from Amazon, but it didn't come from the UK. It actually came from the EU, so I actually had to wait about a week for this. And that seems to be the same story with most of them on Amazon. But if you want to get this from Amazon and want to see the one that I bought, I'll put a link in the description below. The one I bought was about 3 meters, basically because my Eddi is downstairs in the garage underneath the tank. But if your MyEnergi Eddi is in the airing cupboard with your tank, then you're probably going to need a lot shorter length, probably 1.5 meters. Something like that should suffice, but do of course measure it before you buy the sensor cable you need. Right, let's have a look inside the MyEnergi box and see what you get. Okay, so let's just start with the box. It's quite a small box and you get a number of items inside. So first of all, in here you get the main board. You've got loads of different connectors here, so you can actually put 2 temperature sensors on here. Obviously the Eddi has 2 tanks, but you can put 2 sensors on 1 tank if you really want to, as I've seen that done. So we've got 4 holes in there for the risers, and I'll show you those in a second. So then we have a little packet, and inside the packet we have quite a few things. So we've got the ribbon cable here as well, so we need to connect, which connects the Eddi to the board, so that's very important. And then we've got a couple of snap-in plug sockets here, connectors basically on a small screwdrivers. And then finally we've got the 4 plastic risers that go on the bottom of the board that sit it away from the board itself, but we'll see that when we fit it. I just wanted to show you what was in the box first, really. You do actually get a piece of paper inside, which is like just come out of a printer. Please insert the plastic standoffs as shown in the image below, taking note of the location for the one standoff that has only 1 barbed insert, as shown by that arrow. Please refer to page 32 of the Eddi installation manual for further details on the remainder of this process. So there is quite a really good PDF actually online. Have a look at that because there's loads of different wiring configurations on that, and the MyEnergi manual is very, very good. Basically we've just got a red and a white connection on here, and then the sensor is this metal piece here, and the rest is just all cable. So the first thing I'm going to do is put these 4 plastic risers on here, or standoffs, whatever you want to call them. So if we mirror image what they've shown in this picture, we've got like a curve and a little cutout piece, and then we've got 3 basically identical looking standoffs here, and 1 that hasn't got the standoff. Okay, so we'll put the first 3 in their position. It should just clip in. There we go, there's 1, 2, and 3. Well, this is quite obvious because I was thinking which way around is it going to go, but it's got to go in the hole, because if I put the flat one here, nothing's going to happen. So we're going to put the standoff in that position there, up on the angled side, so we've got a flat side. We'll probably see the reason for this when we actually take the front off the Eddi, for when we actually get the board put in place. So that's it for now. Let's go down to the garage and see if we can fit this board in the Eddi. So here's the Eddi on the wall. And hopefully what we're going to be able to see on the readout itself is a temperature reading coming out on here as well as coming out on the app. So at the moment we just got the power going in and out, and then if you go up and trace it, it's just going up there into the ceiling, and that's where I'm going to be putting the thermometer cable or the sensor cable through there as well, and then coming down and into the Eddi. So the first thing we're going to do is obviously turn it off. Just on the rocker switch underneath, and that's to the middle. There we go. And then I'm going to turn it off upstairs as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is unscrew the two screws on the front. Put those to one side. Then we can take the front off. Then we can have a really good look inside and get a bit of a close-up. So here's the inside of the board. Hopefully you can see here, hopefully it's quite obvious where the riser pins are going to go in here, because we've got one hole there and another hole there, so I'm hoping they're going to just pop into there. So yeah, I'm right in the guessing here. We've got the two holes here, and then there's another riser hole at the back here. So what's going to happen is it's going to fit in here. It's going to pop in here, I believe, at about this sort of position. That's why it's got this cut out here to get around this block there. And then the connectors for the thermostat are going to be in here. So none of these are going to be used unless you're wiring up in a different way, as in the user manual. So we're just going to connect our sensors into here. But what you've got to be careful of, by the looks of it, is that the ribbon cable goes in here, but as you probably can't see, the other end of the ribbon cable is hidden under here. So you're going to have to make sure that you put your ribbon cable in first before you slide it into place. So I'm going to do that now. Right, so when you put the ribbon cable in, put it into the actual unit that you bought first, and make sure that it's basically facing you. So the words on the ribbon cable are facing you, and the blue is on the opposite side facing away. Otherwise the contacts won't touch and you won't get a reading. So next thing to do is just to push it onto the connector on the main board. It just slots in. You don't need kind of any other clips or anything to hold it. It fits in quite nicely and it's not going to come out. And then it's just a matter of really sliding it in underneath and then making sure those risers plugs kind of clip into the board. And they should really just kind of snap into place, to be honest. Right, so I've got the cable. The red is obviously going to be the positive on here. And then I've got the cable clip that came in the MyEnergi packaging. Just check that it goes in the correct way. It goes in with the screws facing the top and clips in. And the left side is the positive. So we're going to put the red in the left hand side. You're going to need quite a small screwdriver for this. I've actually got a small bradawl that I'm going to use just because it fits. So red, let's put them in at the same time. Red in the left, white in the right. That rhymes, so that's good. So they're nice and tight, they're not going to come out of there. So now we can go plug it in and test it. Right, so I've got the sensor cable all done, as you just saw. Then it's just a matter of putting it in here. So we've got the PT1 on the left, PT2. So the first temperature sensor on the left, second one on the right. And it's just a matter of clipping that in. And that'll just stay in like that. And of course the other end has got the sensor on. So I'll leave that up here. And that can guess the temperature of the MyEnergi AC inverter. Now I'm going to go switch it all on. So zooming in on the screen, hopefully you can see in the bottom right hand corner 36 degrees, 37 degrees, 40 degrees. That's just sitting on top of the, I don't know if you can see here, it's just sitting on top of the MyEnergi AC inverter, the sensor is. Anyway, yeah, so that's all working as it should. We'll just have a look in the app to see if we can see it in there as well. So this is the MyEnergi app, and if you go on to the actual Eddi and then click on tank 1, you should then see the temperature. There you go, current temperature at the top, 40 degrees C, and then you should get a little bit more information at the bottom. So I'm getting the kilowatt hours that the tank has used and the actual average centigrade as well, which is obviously very low at the moment because I've just turned it on. But yeah, so that's good to see that the temperature is in the app as well as on the front screen of the Eddi itself. Right, so all I've done now is I've turned the unit off and I've just pushed in hard on those clips. And they've all gone in. Obviously there isn't one on this side because it just touches against the main board, but these ones are all in place. The bottom 3, there's a little bit of movement, but it's not really going to go anywhere. So what I'm going to do is disconnect this now and now run the temperature sensor from the ceiling down. Right, so this is the airing cupboard, lots of towels in here. So we've got a Santon Premier unvented hot water system tank in here. Now, so this isn't a proper copper tank. If you've got a proper copper tank with a jacket on it, it should be really easy to put the sensor part right next to the copper. But mine has got foam around it on the inside. So I don't have many access points on mine at all. But the main access points that I'm going to use are behind these blue covers where I can actually get to the foam parts, where the settings are and things like that. So I shall be going into there with the sensor because that's the only option I have. And you can see the other cables coming in there through the floor, and that's where the sensor cable is going to run as well. So I've got the sensor cable running under the floor now. So I'm just going to basically undo both of these blue covers. And behind each of these covers is where the temperature settings are for the elements that heat the tank up. So what you can see is, they're heavily kind of foamed up, but on each one, it's got the foam padding around the outside, but there is access to the sort of body of the tank around the sort of electrics. So what I think I'll do is I'll put it on the higher one. Obviously heat rises and that's as high as I can get. So I'm going to put the sensor on the top one and not put anything on the bottom one. And then I'll just basically tape it to the tank body. I think what I'll do is I'll get some Gorilla tape and then I'll probably just tape it straight in there and then just run the cable sort of on the outside of the actual tank and tape the cable to the tank as well, I think. So I can't see where there's anywhere else better to actually put it. Right, so I've got the Gorilla tape. So I'm going to cut some of this off and tape this up. So I've got it touching the tank as much as possible. Put that flap down. Hoping hope is not a strategy, but hoping somewhere I was going to be able to pop that cable out and screw this back on, but it doesn't seem to want to give me a space, unlike on the other one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a little nick into this metal so that I can get the cable out. Right, so I've cut a little bit out of this metal. So I'll go back to there we go. And there's my cable coming out. Good. And then I can get the screw back in. So after I turn it all back on again, we should get a reading out, and then I can work out when it actually says max temp reached on the MyEnergi app, and I can see the temperature, then that I can work out, even though this temperature sensor possibly isn't going to be perfect and accurate, but hopefully it should be pretty good. So that's it really done. I'm probably going to put a little bit more tape on that. There you go. I don't want it too tight, but I don't want it too loose either. There we go. And I'm just going to leave the rest of the cable around the back here, and I'll probably tuck that underneath, and I'll just put some cable ties on it and then tidy it up. So I've just brought the cable in underneath, just like I did with the other power cable, and then I'm just going to clip that back in here. Could have screwed it into here actually, but they were a bit of a pain, so I'm not going to bother. But what I might do is just get a cable clip and clip it onto here so it's just nice and tight. Hopefully that will give it a little bit of protection from being pulled out of place. Right, so now I'm happy with that, and I know that it's all working. I'm going to put the front back on. Right, so I'm just going to turn it all back on now. It's all completely wired up. Just going to show you that front screen again just to check that it is all kind of working. So it's coming on, just turned it on, waiting for the surplus, then it should start heating. There we go, and then you start seeing the kilowatts going in. And in the bottom right hand corner you can see the temperature from the sensor on the tank. Right, so that's it all done. It took me kind of about, I don't know, 2 hours in total, I would say. Obviously I had to have a coffee in between, and I had to do different things, didn't I, like running the cable through the floor and, you know, cutting the piece of metal sort of front of the boiler tank cover. So if you've got an Eddi that's just in the room with your tank already, then it's probably only going to really take you 30 minutes to an hour really to do that job. So it's pretty quick and easy to do. I'll put a link to the cable, as I said, that I bought from Amazon in the description below. It turns out I actually bought a 5-meter cable. Weird pricing on Amazon. A 5-meter cable was cheaper than a 1 and 2 meter cable, and 4-meter. So it's really weird. Just the 3-meter was more money than the was less money than the 5-meter. So I just went for a 5-meter just in case I needed that extra length. But I still had a meter or so spare. But whichever length you buy, just make sure you measure up first. You don't want to order the wrong length cable. It's always better to buy one slightly longer than you need. Also, if you're going to buy the temperature relay sensor, the MyEnergi one, have a look out for prices. They do vary a little bit. Midsummer were quite a good price, but obviously I didn't pay postage. Some of the prices can vary by around even £10 on that unit, when the kind of retail price of it is between sort of £40 and £50 really, including VAT. So mind out when you're sort of purchasing it how much you're going to actually spend on it. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give us a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, of course, and I'll see you soon.